screen, right? Okay. Yeah. And today I want to kind of like discuss about the shift of experience that one might contain from an exhibition visit to the experience on the street. This experience I kind of like observe from my own experience of visiting Venice Biennale this year as Arsenale, and also the experience of being in a new cities. Like last year I spent the whole year in Berlin, and from my own practice, I always kind of like try to make sense of who I am, where I am. So the most important thing is like to walk in the cities. So today I will kind of like discuss about this kind of experience, how to kind of like, hold on. Okay, I will start from here. I would like to discuss the shift of experience one contains from an exhibition visit to experience on the street, the urban and social landscape. It is the idea of transposing experience from an exhibition and aligning it to other experience in everyday life in order to see the moment in which the spheres become porous or correlated. This approach based on the notion of art as a sphere of enabling a domain of encounter, a network, and free space. And it focuses on the viewer as active readers. The exhibit works within the exhibition become a device, and it becomes a synthetic view gathered by the curator. It is an attempt to formulate a thinking, a reflection of social and cultural landscape. The exhibited work are evaluated to the duration of the exhibition according to the reaction of the viewer to the act of interpretation. The transmission of the work could be through the intimate experience by participation or carefully read or dubbed. The real work of art, in this case, I mean the experience one have from looking at the exhibition or encounter the exhibition or both. It is the construction of reading references and transpositioning the idea. And the first image here is from Venice Biennale at Arsenale, and it's a piece by Ibrahim Hamahama, Out of Bounds in 2015. The reason that I used the image as introduction is I decided to use this passage as a way out from Arsenale. The whole exhibition at Arsenale is quite intense, and for me, it's kind of like bringing back my own self to Bangkok, because when I first get into the Arsenale, I just feel like, okay, now it's very complicated, and I had tried to understand what's going on in that exhibition by going to from one piece to another, and I realized that no, it doesn't work that way because it's so intense, and the way the curator organized the whole show is kind of like he leaves a little bit of space for you to move around. It's not enough space, like breathing space. It's kind of like very intense and have really strong impact on me on that visit. So the first walk in, I just realized that I cannot stand it anymore. It's up here, and it's just like, no, I can't. But then I decided to step back a little bit and go in again. And this time I tried to kind of like find my own orientation within the show. So I just trying to walk from one to another. If I feel like it's a little bit too much, I step out and move on, or trying to ignore some other things. And then when I walked through and through into nearly the end of Arsenale, I just realized that, yeah, it brings me back the experience of walking in the city in Bangkok. You know, it's really true. And from that experience, and it reminds me of when I work on my own exhibition, Temporary Storage, with BACC, Bangkok Art and Culture Center in 2012. And the reason that it's bringing me back the whole experience of the show, because when I work with BACC, they don't have much budget, for building up the show. So I have really limited means of spending, and the whole idea of doing that exhibition is trying to find a way to work with them, because the bureaucratic system and not quite understanding what is contemporary art, what is the curatorial. And then I spent almost 2 years discussing the ideas with the curatorial team at BACC. So finalized in 2012, I realized a show. So it's kind of like, it's become, it's not just like about curating a show or building up an exhibition. It's about trying to learn how to work with them and also to understand what's going on in the city of Bangkok. And yeah, that's kind of like a starting point for today. So on the passage out from Arsenal, from this image, it reminds me some part of Bangkok where I grown up, and it's near Chinatown. And when walking through that, kind of like trying to understand what the artist is trying to, to talk about within this exhibition. And then I can't help myself to think about my own experience in the cities in Bangkok. So all this kind of information and memories just kind of like building up within myself, and it's become something else. And within Arsenal, as I mentioned before, that it's quite intense experience. And normally when you try to understand something very complex, you need kind of like space to step back, or maybe like, between the work or something like that. But there's not much in Arsenal at all until I walked through to one piece of performance within the show. And I think it's a performance by, hold on, shit. I forgot. The performance called Indoor Flight by Ernesto, but I can't remember the last name now. Okay, and that piece of work, I mean, the installation and performance is with the presence of the artist as a performer within the exhibition. And to see him doing like with the plane floating in the space, it's kind of like a breathing space within that chaotic exhibition. And I just realized that, that kind of like movement and the presence of human become really important part of the exhibition. And also it's bring back to Bangkok, the city of Bangkok, where everything is kind of like overloaded. It's not just the urban landscape, but also the complexity in terms of like the social and political landscape at the moment. So to go back into Bangkok from this point, I would like to show a video documentation that we produced during the exhibition Temporary Storage in Bangkok. Hold on. No. For this exhibition, we asked one of our artist friend, a photographer and artist, to document the whole process of setting up the show. The exhibition has divided into 3 parts. One is the installation at BSCC, which is in the main building of BSCC. And the second part is like we produce publication, 3 publications during the exhibition period. And the third part is we utilize the banner, the advertising banner along BTS, the Sky Train system in Bangkok. And it starts from, normally BSCC will provide a banner for each exhibition to kind of like promote the show. And then when I heard about it, we just proposed them back that would it be possible to use the banners as part of the show? And the idea is like to kind of like transmit the work within the institution, the exhibition at BSCC, to kind of like bring it back to the public space in Bangkok. And so at the end, the artists will kind of like have 3 channels to distribute the work. One is the installation, the other one is like the publication, and the last one is to have the banner on the street of Bangkok. And on the night that we install the banners on the street, as I mentioned before, we don't have much money, and the structure is really kind of like weak to work with BSCC. So at the end, we all have to go with, we have to go with the people who are gonna put the banner up on the street. So, and it had to be after 10 p.m. So at the end, we decided between me and the artist to go in a minivan and to go to the street of Bangkok and install the work. And also, during this kind of experience, it's become part of the whole process that at the end, it's not about just put the work on the street, but experience the street itself. Because at the end, we go out like 10 p.m. and we finish at 4 a.m. in the morning. And that experience give us a different kind of impression of the cities, because at the end, at night, on the street of Bangkok, you see a lot of like happening. The street become really dirty and people start to cleaning up. You've seen a lot of like homeless people start to finding a place to sleep. You have a lot of people who work during the day trying to get back home to rest. And the whole new scene of that kind of like the cityscape. And that experience become very like a strong memory during this kind of like process. So at the end, we asked this friend to put up all photo document as a video, and we presented within the exhibition at the end on the last day to kind of summing up the whole experience of the exhibition here. And I can show you some of the image here. Yeah. The idea of temporary storage is start from trying to research and try to see what's happening in the art scenes in Bangkok. That's the starting point. And then I met a young female artist in Bangkok, Orawan Arunlak, and she presented me with her drawing sketchbook. And when I go through her sketchbook, I just realized that it's not just like a sketchbook. And for example, this image you see here, she kind of like do a lot of drawing. She gonna go out in the cities, taking bus or walking in the cities, and start to drawing something and put together in one page. At the end, I feel like it's just a map. It's become a drifting map of Bangkok. So from this point, we just kind of like approach her drawings in sketchbook as a map for Bangkok. So each image represents a places in Bangkok. So we put numbers with for each image, and then we can link it to the place in the cities. So a different kind of like, rereading the city or understanding a place. Hold on. And now the second image. Yeah, hold on. Yep. This is the main installation at BSCC. Normally, this is not the exhibition area. Normally, they use it as a public space, a reception area. When they have opening, they will have tables and drinks and everything here. And without any event, they will put tables here and there in this area, and students from high school next to BSCC will come here and read books. So it's become like a studies area for BSCC. But then they have the idea that they want to turn this area into a cafe and art bookshop and an art shop. So people can come and drink coffees and things like that. It's become like commercialized, the whole space thing. So my proposal that, before doing that, let me do an exhibition here. So with this exhibition, I put a table here. So it's referred to, it's used to be a reading area. And during the exhibition, people can come in and sit there and read books, or maybe they want to look at the artwork that I present here, or maybe they want to talk about something. I have someone there to kind of like interact with the audience. And at the same time, when you look out, you see the whole SkyTrain. And if you go out from BSCC to the SkyTrain, then you find some of the work on the banners, advertising banner, which is reflect back to the exhibition here. So this is one of a banner that we have an artist from Chiang Mai present the work. And because the station that we work for this exhibition is from BSCC, which is the main shopping center in Bangkok, to Victory Monument, where it used to be a protest. So we use this kind of like distance and what's happening in this area, and we kind of like proposing to the artists to create a work or to recycle their own work and put to another context. And for example, some of the work here by photography again, he do a lot of research on the city of Bangkok and what's happening on the street levels, where there is kind of like something poles or anything that came up on the street, and it's kind of like how to understand the urban and also hold on. To look at it in different way as a public sculpture, that's coming up on the street, even though it's produced by the city of Bangkok, not by the artist. And here you see at the exhibition, the installation at BCC, it's become a station where we distribute the broadsheet that we produce. And also we have a section that we make a map, Bangkok. We call it Bangkok Book Map, which we work with the reading room in Bangkok. And at that year, they said that Bangkok will be the book cities. So with reading room, and we decided to make the map of bookshops and library, public library in Bangkok, and people can kind of like contribute send up links and location, and we make like a book map for Bangkok. And then we publish it and distribute it to many places. And at the exhibition, when people come in, they can kind of like contribute. If they know that there's some other shops or library that is not on the map, they can put it in more and more. And so it's kind of like adding up. So with this exhibition, we kind of like trying to make, for me, it's kind of like ideal exhibition where you have many things for many people. For some people, they don't understand what's the language of art. Some people want to come to BACC and take photos and upload into Instagram, so you can come and do it here. And some people, they're not interested in art, but Bangkok book map, they might be interesting. So they have something for some people and everyone like that. Or some people might want to come here and look at the work, and then we kind of like propose them to go out of BACC to take the MRT train to go somewhere else. So this kind of like back and forth experience between inside the art space or the art institution and back to the street of Bangkok. And this is one of the photos that the artists document the whole show with kind of like show the area which is, here is Siam Center, which is not far from BACC. From here, I want to go back to another video that I want to show here at Venice Biennale. This is from YouTube. From video, I would like to kind of like put another statement, which is refer to temporary storage in Bangkok, and see how it's happening. If you look at the image here, you know what is come from, but what you're gonna hear now is from something else. Does it make sense, or is that create something else apart from what we already know? Okay. Temporary Storage Part 1 is a project-based exhibition which is trying to explore the possibility of creating multi-platform for contemporary art exhibition, focusing on the process of transmitting research work, artwork, and idea produced by artists and those who are in related fields to the public. This exhibition and project does not present the whole ideas as a single narrative, but rather to provide the possibilities of readings, interpreting, and perceiving the presented work in relation to the context of time and place, and to emphasize the viewer's experiences. This exhibition renders a maze of contemporary art discourses and critical apparatus through poetic approach. It is the poetic as a method or operating system rather than the works. The poetic that articulates narration of exhibition. Exhibiting works are diffused across spaces from an art institution through printing material and advertising banner along the BTS structure in Bangkok. It is noteworthy that each work triggers stories regarding social and urban memory, while altering spaces they occupy. Temporary Storage Part 1 opened up a complex space of references and relation between the work in situ and their possibilities of interpretation. This is how kind of like the way I work, to juxtaposition between different experience, different knowledge, different memory, and would it be possible to kind of like reimagine or rereading the whole new experience. And from this Venice Biennale and temporary storage, I would like to take you to Bangkok again, but I would like to take you to the end of 19th century in Bangkok. And this image is a mural paintings by a Thai artist, Kruain Kong, who is also a monk. And this painting has been produced at the end of 1800s. And it's kind of like by the order of King Lama IV, but at the time he's still a prince, and he kind of like know that he's not going to be a king, so he decided to be a monk. So this painting is become a collaboration between the Prince Mongkut and Kruain Kong, which is the artist. Prince Mongkut, as a monk, conceptualized the ideas of using Western landscape. And the artist kind of used his skill to elaborate and create another kind of narrative in this painting. If you look closely, you will see constellations from our universe, solar system, and which is, I've just realized that it's the first time in Thailand or maybe in Southeast Asia that you have a painting that depicting the solar system and painted in public space. This temple now, the temple is not far from the main train station, and it's kind of like a central Bangkok. But if you go back 100 years ago or 150 years ago, it's the outskirts of Bangkok. It's surrounded by bushes, forests, and farms. So it's not like typical thing that you have a painting of depicting the Western landscape in the middle of nowhere in a forest monastery in Bangkok. And the way the picture construct here, you see you have like Western knowledge about universe, and then you have like a lot of like angels, Thai angel flying everywhere, and on the ground is some architecture that might came from Washington D.C. and then some part from like Europe, and then you have like the seascape with boat and ships and the big lotus. The whole thing is not about trying to create the European landscape, but the Prince Mongkut at the time, he wanted to kind of like challenging the audience or the viewer, because everything here is metaphor and symbolic. For example, the image of like ships here, it refers to a Buddhist philosophy that our life is like you going to the boat, to the ship, and you just sailing to the sea to go across from one island to another land. So this is all that metaphoric statement in this painting, and the audience of this painting is not Westerner. It's like the local, the farmers, and people who live next to the temple. For me, this is like another kind of rediscovery for me to go back to the a few places in Bangkok and try to reread what's already there for a long time. So it's like in combination what's happening in a contemporary landscape and going back to something that came from like the early modernity in Thailand. That's kind of like the whole picture here. Thank you.